Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Bittersweet Candy Bowl comic review. Today we are taking a look at Chapter 8, Helping Hands. This is a Paulo and Daisy centric chapter, and we all know how much I like those two. It also breaks the square panel formatting. Let's go! We begin as Paulo and Daisy are walking down the street. Daisy is talking about a party she missed, with Daisy assuming that her invitation was misplaced. She's okay with it anyway, cause she spent the whole weekend studying. Paulo walks beside her unamused, probably tired of listening to Daisy ramble. In the first bit of dialogue, we get a nice recapper for Daisy's character. She wasn't invited to the sleepover, seen as a nerd and a bit of an outcast in school. She's a little immature and blissfully unaware of this, however, as she assumes the invitation went missing. As per her smart character archetype, she spent the weekend hitting the books. Paulo yawns and goes to respond to Daisy, but is cut off by her shrieking. Paulo inquires as to what's wrong, and Daisy points out an injured bird in the street. Paulo makes an insensitive comment that only makes Daisy cry harder as she presses her face into his chest for comfort. I mean, come on guys, this is total ship bait. Daisy continues to cry in Paulo's chest, and he points out that an upcoming car will finish the job on the bird. Daisy cries out in terror, and Paulo has a change of heart. He puts on a determined face and runs into the street, grabbing the bird and tumbling out of the way of the car just in time. Paulo gets into a shouting match and turns to Daisy, who had just crossed the street. She gets angry with Paulo, citing that he isn't cool for doing dangerous things. She was scared he would get hit by the car and end up injured like the bird. They turn their attention back to the bird, who is still alive and breathing. Daisy suggests Lucy, and Paulo wholeheartedly agrees, though not for the same reason. Of course, we have seen previously that Lucy has many pets, so it would make sense that they would take the bird to her. Lucy's house is close by anyways, and Daisy is about to remark that Lucy likes to play nurse when another car comes barreling down the road, dangerously close to hitting her. Her first reaction, naturally, is to run to Paulo in fear. Paulo cheekily reminds her that she had been standing in the road while having just scolded him for similar behavior. They debate on who the bird should go to when Daisy suggests he should keep it, bringing up the time he spent with Allegria. Paulo gets embarrassed and covers her mouth, but she isn't too upset. She gives a knowing smile as he walks off. Daisy tries to possibly flirt with him and get him to embrace the more gentle side of himself by telling him girls like guys who are good with kids. Obviously, she wants Paulo to show his more sweeter center, and cleverly does this by using the one thing he likes most: girls. Paulo says he's already a hit with the ladies, and Daisy loses a bit of her confidence. It starts raining, and Paulo comments the bird might catch a cold if it stays out there too long. Paulo notices Daisy's frizzy hair, and she fusses about her curly fur, saying the bird doesn't have much time. They both get their acts together and make a break for Lucy's house. They make it to Lucy's, and she answers the door. Daisy frantically tries to explain the situation, but Lucy bluntly asks what happened to her, a comment about her frilly fur. Daisy gets flustered and runs to the bathroom. Lucy tells Paulo that she won't like it there, and we soon see why. Mike is already occupying it, and Daisy screams in embarrassment. Later, we find Paulo and Daisy awkwardly sitting together on the couch, with Daisy brushing her fur back into shape. She laments about Mike seeing her look so frazzled. Paulo comments that if Mike was worth it, he'd like her no matter how she looked, which cheers Daisy up a bit. I can't help but feel that there may have been a bit of jealousy in Paulo's words. Lucy returns to say she will take care of the bird, and Daisy points out that Mike is studying with Lucy and wants to know if she can stay over as well. I love Lucy's expression here. She's very clearly embarrassed over the way Daisy points it out, as though coming to the realization of how it may look to others. Lucy responds by kicking them out and slamming the door. Daisy's fur once again hilariously puffed up from the rain. At school, Paulo and Daisy ask Lucy for a follow-up on the bird. Lucy says the bird left them last night, a poor choice of wording for Paulo and Daisy, but a good choice of wording to set up the joke that the bird isn't actually dead, it only recovered and left. We see Blur and Chirpy tried to convince the new bird to stay, but he wanted to go back into the world. Lucy says the bird wanted to give them something and pulls out a nest. The bird was really grateful for being saved, and Lucy showed him pictures of Paulo and Daisy. In turn, he decided to make them that nest as a thank you. Both Paulo and Daisy look at each other pleased, and Lucy follows up by saying the bird also said it's a good place for them to have their children after they've been mated. Paulo and Daisy look appalled. Helping Hands does for Paulo and Daisy what Gaming Rivalry did for Mike and Lucy. We get to see the caring side of these characters, as well as the reincorporation of past events. Despite his tougher outer exterior, deep down Paulo is very kind and caring, wanting to look out for those in need. Daisy gets much needed time in the spotlight as well, as not just Paulo, but her have kind of been relegated to side character status up until this point. They had been prominently featured before, but always at the side of Lucy or Mike. It also helps the chapter breaks the conventional BCB comic formatting by having open panels and more pages, allowing for a more open and dynamic story. We finally get to see who they are when they aren't playing support. Daisy still plays a naive nerd with good intentions, who also has a bit of a confidence streak when the time comes for it. She also is overdramatic, crying about the bird, getting angry with Paulo, freaking out over her fur, screaming when Mike sees her, trying to get in with Mike by staying at Lucy's house. And of course we can't forget about Paulo. He is very much an engaging protagonist, constantly pushing the story forward with his confidence and daring-do behavior. He can be a bit of a wannabe playboy at times, but this does not reflect who he truly is. Even though he was laissez-faire about the bird, he took it upon himself to save it, mostly for Daisy's sake, but soon takes charge and does it because he cares about the bird. He may even have projected some of his feelings outward to her with his line about how Mike should like her no matter how she looks. Another great story, and one of my favorite chapters in the comic, and there are certainly a lot. As of writing this review, the comic has just finished off chapter 111 and will begin 112 tomorrow. There's a lot of ground to still cover, so on with the reviews. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.